Alright, so we are here for what is probably going to be a shorter video. I don't plan on making this one too long. I don't think this one is going to be too long. But this is going to be a video speaking on the 10th anniversary for Dokkan, which is going to be coming in about 2.5 months now. It is the 9th of November as I'm recording this, so it's a lot sooner than we think, and obviously it's going to be the first Dokkan anniversary that both JP and Global have at the same time, which not only being the 10th anniversary is crazy, because 10 years for any gacha game is actually insane. And then also, you know, it's the first time both the versions get to experience it at the same time. So it is a massive, massive celebration coming up. I recommend just saving your stones if you're me. Don't be like me, because I'm going to summon on heroes, but probably don't summon on heroes unless you really want the characters, because it might be the last time you can get them. But anyway, yeah, and obviously there's been a lot of discourse around, you know, what characters we could get. Obviously, you know, some of the picks. Obviously, the most famous duo pick is Super Vegito, Super Gogeta. Like, definitely very possible. And then with Super Vegito, Part 2 potentially could be like a Kid Buu, because it's like, it's close enough to Buuhan where they could just finally drop an LR Kid Buu at the 10th anniversary, which would be very fitting that LR Kid Buu would drop on one of the biggest celebrations, or the biggest celebration of the year. I used to say worldwide was the biggest celebration, but now that we're synced, I think anniversary is overall going to be bigger, since we have everything at the same time now, or should have everything at the same time now. I don't know what global team is doing, but every single anniversary, right, we always get these new mechanics, and I don't think I've seen any videos talking about, you know, what the 10th anniversary could hold for us in terms of new mechanics, mostly just the characters. I'm assuming Twitter probably has had some discussion about new mechanics, but I'm not on Twitter that often, so what I'm thinking is that I just want to do a short little video talking about what I think are potential new mechanics we can get for the 10th anniversary. Just as an example, last year was the Carnival Blue Gogeta and the STR LR Dokkan Fest Beast Gohan, who introduced the attack. I believe the official name is attack redirection, or like the target mechanic or the taunt mechanic, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, kind of a smaller change because it's mostly just tied to an active skill, but it is a very useful mechanic, I won't deny that. But then, kind of going over, I didn't pull them up here, but like kind of, I guess, going over all the different anniversaries. You know, first we got the all types leader, like for key and attack, which isn't super new because we had all type key leaders and all type attack leaders like separately. But I guess attacks effective against all types was probably the big change there, and I believe, I don't remember who the first character with guard was. Was it? I don't know if it was Super Janemba. I would have to check again, but Super Janemba that dropped for the first anniversary, he might have been the first character with guard. But actually, while I'm talking, let me check real quick. I just want to make sure. Does he even have guard pretty easy? I know he does post easy. Yeah, he does. Okay, so he might have been the first character with guard, and guard's a pretty big mechanic. Second anniversary, we had the first summonable LR, and we had the first 120 leads. We started a whole new meta with Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Then the next two anniversaries, the third and fourth anniversaries, I do believe have had what are likely the biggest changes we've ever seen for this game in terms of mechanics. We've had the transformation mechanic introduced with the LR Gogeta and LR Vegito that dropped at the third anniversary. Obviously opening many, many different types of gates to, you know, characters that can change forms mid-battle, which allows them to re-release a ton of different characters, you know, a bunch of different fusion characters. And then, obviously, active skills were huge because, well, one, they introduced voice acting to the game. I guess, technically, there was a little bit of voice acting in the menus, but in terms of, like, actual units, this introduced the first units to have voice acting in any of their animations. And then, two, obviously, it's just a skill you can activate at the start of the round. And it can do damage, it can transform a character, it can provide a buff, and that just led to what is like a massive variety of different mechanics that you could input into, like, you know, the start of the round, or uniquely put into the game with the active skills. I would argue overall, probably active skills were more important just because of the variety of things you could do with them, and they include transformation as well. But definitely both were probably two of the biggest mechanics changes I've seen in this game. 5th anniversary was skill orbs, which it wasn't even really a mechanic. It was something new. 6th anniversary is pretty big. It was the revival skill, which obviously allowed you to come back after losing once only with certain units if you met conditions. 7th anniversary, I believe, yeah, no, it was intros, yeah, intros or entrance animations. Not super crazy in terms of like how they changed the kits, because obviously you could just do 1 turn buffs anyway, or few turn buff anyway. But they did add another voiced animation to the game, which is always welcome. Same with revivals, that were also voiced. And then also, I believe the 7th year LRs are, I believe they're the first units with multiple active skills, and as well as having the first units with multiple different soundtracks to all of the different active skills, which I think one of the most underrated changes Anniversary ever made. It's just letting characters have multiple soundtracks when they have multiple voice animations. Definitely one of the better changes. Or not one of the better, but like one of my personal favorites. And then obviously 8th year was the standby skill, which is also another voice animation. It's pretty huge. You get to stand by your character and you get to charge up for a big attack or a transformation or whatever. Not as impactful as, like the active skill, but it is a very interesting mechanic, and it opens a lot of different doors that you could do to make units with. And then obviously we already went over is the taunt mechanic. So 10th anniversary obviously is the Big 10. Like 10 years for any gacha game is insane. Like if your gacha game has existed for 10 years, like you're doing something right. Probably, I don't know. Or you're just, I mean, obviously, the brand of Dragon Ball does kind of carry Dokkan quite a bit, but hey, what am I to say? I don't know. So, obviously, 10 years, first synced anniversary. It has to be a big mechanic, and I'm thinking probably is going to be a new type of voiced animation. For sure. That's going to change up the game. Again, I don't think anything's going to beat the introduction of active skills in my book, but who knows? We'll see. But I have 4 different mechanics here. The first one is not necessarily a new voice animation, but it's just something they could add on to it. But the last 3 are 3 different voiced animations they could do, and I have 2 and 3 are kind of similar, but and 4 is probably like the fan favorite. But yeah, we'll kind of get into that, so we can close this now. My first idea for this is what they could attach to voice animations is a type switch mechanic. So we've had a couple units. The first one that comes to mind is the Tech Maja Vegeta, that they switch class. He goes from Super to Extreme. So that's, and then obviously the Revival Namek Saga Vegeta goes from Extreme to Super. So we've had class changing units, but and obviously class can be important because there's class advantage and disadvantage depending on what class of enemy you're fighting. But type advantage and type disadvantage has always, in my opinion, just been usually more important, right? And sometimes there are those stages where a character could perform well if they had a different type, but it's just because like specifically they have type disadvantage against this one boss is why they're not good. And it just kind of sucks because you can't use them just because of their type. That's why I think a type change mechanic could be quite healthy for the game, quite good for some of the aging of some units, because obviously bosses have different types all the time. Obviously it could help kind of diversify units' ability. Say so let's say like the strongest boss is STR, because like every single strong boss this year is STR for some reason, and the main unit is physical, and they would be solid against this STR boss, but it's just the fact that they have type disadvantage that they're not going to do so well, and that really diminishes their usability in what would be the hardest stage. But let's say they can active or standby or whatever, and they switch to AGL type or tech type, even like type neutral situations would help a lot. Then that way you would be able to have more value against bosses that initially have a character in type disadvantage. Now before I move on, I did actually forget to mention that I have tied every concept to a character, so I can give you an example. These are all, well, one I don't think is going to happen, but these are mostly all characters that I think could be possible for anniversary candidates. So for this example, I have Namek Saga Super Saiyan Goku, which is out of all of these picks that I have in the video, this would definitely be my favorite option, just because the Namek Saga is my favorite saga. Goku versus Frieza, favorite fight. This is my favorite version of Goku. I would go crazy on this guy's banner, similar to how I did when he dropped for the 2020 World Worldwide, because that was one of my favorite celebrations. I love that celebration. But what I was thinking is, like, let's say, the actual types don't really matter in this case. Let's just say, like, he's AGL. Let's just say it's an AGL Namek Saga Super Saiyan Goku, you know. His intro is a voiced version of the transformation. He has, like, the Super Saiyan speech somewhere in there. Say, as, like, an active skill. But, right, let's say this Namek Saga Super Saiyan Goku, let's say he also has Revive, or, like, some other type of new mechanic. And I was thinking, you know, once he revives, this will be, like, his Revive animation where it doesn't show the part where he's coming out of water, but, like, he comes out of the ocean and Namek, and then he does, like, this little rage moment he has. He probably wouldn't reference Krillin because it wouldn't make much sense because the enemy is not talking, but the enemy also potentially doesn't even know who Krillin is. But that would be the Revive, and let's say, you know, it changes him to an Int type, where in the case where you fight, like, a tech boss, you know, you start AGL, but then you say it's a Revive, you die, and then you change this guy's type to an Int type, and say you can get some other differences in this kit. I was thinking, like, maybe, you know, if this wasn't a Revive, obviously, if you got to Revive for this, and you can't go back, I think this should just straight up be a better form. But I was thinking if it was an active skill or something and you could switch, it was your choice, they should be about, like, equal, but, like, you know, like, they have advantages in different playing fields. Like, say this is defensive, like, this early fight, Namek Saga Goku is, like, defensive, and then let's say, like, this guy is more offensive. He's, like, kind of a finisher character, or just someone if you need to pump out damage. That's when you would switch to his type. So I would think, like, they would have different types, but they would also have different fields of, like, I guess, expertise in their kit as well. So I definitely think that could be an interesting mechanic. Again, that's not, like, definitely not the most, like, 10th anniversary mechanic I came up with, but I think they could attach it to, like, some type of animation and have it be, like, as a side mechanic. I think it'd be very cool. So that's the first one. That's kind of like the supplemental mechanic. Next up, we have also, yeah, you probably can't tell what I'm thinking of by the screenshot here, but the main thing, obviously, you see at the bottom, the Dokkan meter is filled up. And this is a concept for a new voiced animation. So I was thinking that, you know, obviously the Dokkan attack is useful, but I feel like a lot of times nowadays, especially me, like, sometimes you just don't even notice the Dokkan attack, to be honest. Like, sometimes you just don't even notice. But I was thinking that, you know, maybe for Anniversary we could get a unit that you could use part of your Dokkan meter or your full Dokkan meter to do, like, an active skill of sorts. And it would be kind of like a second active skill that they have, but they use the Dokkan meter. And let's say, I don't know, because it's attached to the Dokkan meter, similar to an actual Dokkan attack, you will actually heal based on the damage you do, or they could attach some other unique mechanic to it. And then plus, what this also means is that if, for some reason, I doubt they will, but if they happen to release, like, a sort of Super Battle Road type concept for 10th anniversary, where it's multiple fights, instead of multiple phases, it's multiple separate fights, this would be really good compared to active skills, because active skills, obviously, the conditions reset with each fight, but the Dokkan meter carries over. So if you build up the Dokkan meter in one fight, you know, you could save it for the next fight to do, like, say, whatever new anniversary unit it is to do, like, their, I don't know, like, climax skill. I'll call it, like, the climax skill pause, but I guess the one issue there would be is that if, you know, you accidentally filled up the full, there should be, like, a way that you can save the Dokkan attack. You don't have to use it, and you could always just save it for later. They could probably figure that out somehow. But, I mean, I think the big appeal of this mechanic, again, is if they happen to release short content again, this does not reset like active skills, and this can carry over in between fights. As well as, you know, obviously I did mention earlier, the Dokkan attack is very useful, like, the healing is very useful, but sometimes you just don't really think about it. I feel like, it might just be me, but I just don't really recognize it that often. I was thinking, you know, if they attach a mechanic to the Dokkan attack where you could use, like, some sort of active skill by using, like, a portion of the meter, or if you want, you can use all the meter to do, like, the most powerful attack in the game or something, that would bring, you know, a new light to the Dokkan attack. It would bring some new usefulness for it, and then, you know, assuming that people are like me, or maybe I'm just stupid, I don't know, like, they start paying attention to the Dokkan attack again, kind of. But my kind of example here, since Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was on the image, I don't think he's going to be Anniversary. He's definitely, like, the least likely option on this list, but I just use an example, like say, you know, he does like a gigantic Big Bang Kamehameha. If you decide to use some of your Dokkan meter with him specifically, and be kind of like a second active skill, maybe supplemental to something else that he has, or maybe he could just have this, I don't know. I could definitely see for 10th anniversary, you know, the unit having both an active skill and I guess like this Dokkan meter skill, both at the same time, just one supplementing the other, and obviously the Dokkan meter skill just being the new one. Again, I don't think Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is going to be a headliner, especially because we're getting the EZA for the 7-year LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku Vegeta, the Fusion Gogeta. So I doubt he's going to be a headliner, but that was just the example I went with because he's on this image. So yeah, that's number 2. Number 3 is kind of similar, so it's going to be kind of a quick explanation here. But obviously, you know, this is a picture of the standby Buu Saga Goku Vegeta. And I couldn't really find like a good image for this, but my main point was here like the meter, right? This is not related to standbys at all, by the way. Just I couldn't find like a good example image for what I'm trying to think, but like sort of what I'm thinking is like, you know, as you go through the fight, you know, say you like, I don't know, perform 10 attacks with the character, you know, you receive 5 hits, you receive a super attack, you collect this many orbs, you know, then it would kind of like fill out like a mini mission tab. Like it would be where that bar is, you could look at it and it would have like a little, I don't know, like a disclaimer about what it's trying to get you to do. And instead of like, you know, using the Dokkan meter to do an attack, instead you would fulfill like this criteria, right? You would fulfill this criteria and you would be able to perform an attack. Now, when I was thinking, obviously it doesn't necessarily just have to be like, what is it? You have to get all the requirements to do the attack at all. I was just thinking like, you know, they could add some supplemental requirements as well on top of just what the main one is, so you can just, you know, use it to power up. And it would honestly be kind of unique as well, in a way, because what it would do is it would kind of, I guess, get you to play a little differently. You know, obviously, you know, you try to build up with characters a lot in these runs, but it would definitely bring about a different play style because you would have to work around such a thing, but it would make the attack so powerful that would be worth it. I think it could definitely be interesting. It could definitely, I think it would freshen the I can't speak. It would freshen the game up due to you having to play differently and work around stuff. And obviously it could also be completely optional as well. You know, maybe, I don't know, like you can use a different version of like an active skill when you fulfill the requirements or something like that, or like whatever new skill it would be, and it would change when you do the missions. Like maybe the effect would be completely different, so you could choose. But if you wanted the other one, which they would probably make it better if you have to earn it, you could like do those like kind of like side quest things. I think this is probably the least likely. I just kind of thought it was cool. And my example was Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan from the Cell Saga. Obviously, you know, let's say like, I don't know, you receive this many hits, you know, kind of like him tanking, not like, let's say one of the missions is like to receive a super attack, like to kind of recreate, you know, Teen Gohan when he threw himself in front of Vegeta to block Cell's blast, right? And maybe they would also have like a little special animation for when he has like receives a super attack, or maybe, you know, he has like a direct like super attack redirection where he jumps in front of it and takes it for the enemy, which is also that's also possible that they could do something like that. And then you fulfill all the missions, and then you get the Father-Son Kamehameha, and it'll be voiced, obviously, because we really need a voiced version of this. The only good version of this we have is the LR Gohan's 18-key, the AGL one, which still looks pretty solid, despite being a 2019 animation. It still does look pretty solid. But we do definitely need a voiced version of this, and they could be improved, and they could add the walk. They could combine all the different parts, and they could include the walk in it this time instead of just having it exclusively on the end LR Gohan. But yeah, I think that's the way they could implement this attack into the game. Hopefully it wouldn't be restricted by, you know, having certain allies on your team, like say like a Super Saiyan Goku, which honestly, I mean, it's not that bad, but I'd just rather it be able to activate just no matter what your team is, as long as you make the missions. But we'll see what they would do with that, if they do it at all. And so now for the final. This is the final one. This is probably the simplest one but it's also a fan favorite. Tag characters, and obviously I picked this picture of the Blue Goku Vegeta because this is the first tag unit from Legends. The guy was this Broly movie, Blue Goku, Blue Vegeta, and we kind of got the new version earlier this year during the anniversary where they're using the Gogeta. But let's say, like, I don't know, like, you know how, like, you swipe down with standby skill? Let's just say you swipe left, or you swipe right, and then it will change to the other character, and it'll be like a little voice animation of them tagging out. And then maybe each character would have their own active skill. Maybe one would have a revive, maybe one could have, like, some type of, like, passive, like, super counter, kind of like the Dragon Fist, STR Dragon Fist Goku, in, like, some type of way. They could each have, like, their own. They would be, like, similar kits, but they could each have their own, like, voice stuff, and they would have, like, obviously, there would still be differences in the kit. They'd be similar. But I think this one, I really don't have to explain this one at all. I think y'all will know what I mean, right? Like, just looking at this picture, just you switch between Goku and Vegeta. I don't think this is going to be the unit. This is what I think the tag would be right here. This is from Dragon Ball Heroes. This is a secret rare. This is Super Vegito and Super Gogeta. I'm sure you've probably seen this art by now, but I mean, I think they'll probably be separate releases, but I would be lying if I said it would not be infinitely sicker if they just made a tag unit of these two. Like, I don't know what the other headliner would be. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it would just be Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Blue Vegito. I don't know. But, or like Namek Saga, maybe like a, like a Game Originals Namek Saga Goku, and Team Gohan, like, tag unit, or like, what if Goku was alive during the Cell Saga? That could be cool. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, like, obviously, you would switch between the two of them. They have their own animations, and what I would think for, like, a tag unit, they would have one animation where they do, like, a voiced attack together, obviously. Like, you would want to see Vegito and Gogeta do an attack together. Because in Heroes does have tag units, but this card is not actually a tag unit. This is a Super Vegito card purely, and you can do, like, a space-time summon, I think it's called, and you can bring down Gogeta, and they do an attack together. They could replicate that in the game, maybe do, like, a Soul Punisher Spirit Sword combination, I think is what they do in Heroes. Like, it's kind of like a combo attack between the two signature moves. Something like that. I think that would be sick. I think everybody thinks, like, you know, a tag Super Vegito and Super Gogeta would be just beyond sick. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I think that's kind of going over, like, all the new mechanics I would think that, you know, maybe they would do. And I think you guys for watching. Let me know if you like any of these, if you would change any of these, if you dislike any of these, or if you have, like, any ideas of your own. I will gladly check those out if you guys have any ideas. But yeah, see you guys in the next one.